Thank you, Speaker, and I rise to contribute to the Supporting Stable and Strong Families Bill 2025. And I'll just quickly pick up on the member for Hawthorn's last statement that this bill can only help those people and the children of Victoria that are caught up in this particular situation. So I'm pleased that he's acknowledged that and that the opposition are not opposing this bill. Of course, the Allan Labor government has done a mountain of work to support Victoria's frontline workers across a range of the most vital workforces, of course, whether it be in investments in health frontline workers, support for community and social sectors, and of course those Victorians who work in our schools, our TAFE, our prisons, and we recognise the importance of funding these sectors and continuing to fund these areas to support workers' retention, the growth and the improvements across the space as a whole. Of course, working on the front lines in any workforce can be the most challenging aspect of anyone's of these jobs. And back in my time as a paramedic, which is a long time ago, but part of that job is often being first to a traumatic situation and having to navigate not only your own emotions but the emotions of people around you, and to try and calm the scene down is quite trying on individuals, and in particular individual paramedics that may not have a lot of experience in those circumstances. But frontline workers are the backbone of our community, and showing up every day to keep people safe and healthy and supported, often in the most challenging circumstances. And we commend the efforts of our frontline workers, and they work under intense pressure in unpredictable and sometimes in dangerous environments while continuing to put the needs of others before their own. Whether it be in healthcare, emergency services, community support, public safety, frontline workers witness hardship up close, and they carry out the emotional and physical demands of that work long after they've finished their day's work and long after their shift has completed. Child protection workers are among the most critical frontline workers we have here in Victoria, and the stresses and strains on those workers are enormous. And I know the member for Hawthorn raised the issue of a 21% turnover rate in that industry, and that's probably because of the pressures of that job and how demanding it is, and you're always dealing with crisis situations. And they step out in moments of, as I say, the crisis to keep children safe and support families under immense pressure. And it's vital that current and future governments recognise that urgent need to properly fund new practitioner roles and evidence-based programs. So investing in child protection is not just about protecting vulnerable children. It strengthens families, it reduces long-term harm, it eases pressures on our health, justice and education systems, and it builds safer, more resilient communities for everyone. So since 2014, we have funded 1,180 new child protection practitioner roles, and as a result, we have seen the dramatic increase in practitioners carrying cases. And of course, just last year, the Allan Labor government invested $14 million to continue the current programs that support these practitioners, and of course to recruit more child protection practitioners. The $14 million investment also includes the continued investment into the kinship carers, engagement coordinators, and Aboriginal cultural support and awareness advisors, and the Child Protection Litigation Office. Of course, I want to give a big shout out to the kinship carers in my electorate, and I meet with them on a regular basis, and I was fortunate enough to have $50,000 last year allocated out of the state budget to support our local kinship carers in the Melton area, Melton and Bacchus Marsh, and it's been fantastic to support them in what they do and the support that they give to the children that they support and look after. And I also want to extend my thanks to many wonderful people that work out of Kinship Care Victoria that assist us out in Melton in particular. Importantly, in the last 6 state budgets, we have invested more than $4.4 billion into child protection and family services, and we recognise the need to continue to do more, and there's always more to be done. Of course, Australia, in turn, Victoria, are in a highly valuable position where we can learn and adapt from other countries to develop best practice models, particularly with countries that share like-minded values and similar government models. And the Supporting Stable and Strong Families Bill is modelled off a model of Scotland, out of Scotland, and it's a highly successful corporate parenting approach. And at its core, this new scheme will ensure that supporting at-risk children and families is no longer just the responsibility of child protection alone. Every single government portfolio will now share that responsibility. And things won't be just siloed, whether it be in education, whether it be in health, whether it be in housing or community safety. All will be responsible and all will be held to account. So it's pleasing to see that there will be a collaboration between the different portfolios and, as I say, things not being siloed. Of course, we're not going to adopt the Scottish approach without looking at the actual data to back up this scheme. So let's look at some of the numbers. Between 2020 and 2023, the number of children on the Child Protection Register dropped much faster than between 2020 and 2023 compared to 5 years prior to the introduction of the scheme in 2020. For every 1,000 children in Scotland, 2.9 were on the register. And in 2023, that number dropped to 2.3. Of course, in Scotland, the term looked after is a legal term for the children in Scotland and who are in the care of their local authority. And from 2020 to 2023, the number of looked after children dropped by an enormous figure of 15.6%. So this dramatic drop in number of looked after children is in line with the aim set out by the Scottish Government and who have set out to reduce the number of children needing care. And of course, that's the objective that we're seeking here. The data also tells us that these children, since leaving school, were in a positive place, with many taking up university courses, apprenticeships, and even many young offenders who are a part of these schemes were now in secure and safer accommodation, and that's what we want to try and achieve, and making sure that they are safe, that they're supported, that they go on to education, university, apprenticeships, and, as I say, that we make sure that they are totally supported. So the benefits of having the Supporting Stable and Strong Families Bill become law, and it speaks for itself, improving the lives of many children who are engaged with the child protection process, as well as providing the necessary supports for the frontline workers. And unless we provide the supports to the frontline workers, they can't then extend the support to the children. But of course, importantly, it's essential that this bill and the scheme receive the support of both the government and the opposition. And again, I'll go back to the member for Hawthorn, but other previous contributions by those opposite, that they're not opposing this bill, which is pleasing to see. And clearly, as mentioned, the objectives of this bill, it will seek to enhance early intervention and minimise the number of children and families' engagement with child protection and the duration of their involvement, of course. The bill isn't just one that aspires to the success being had in Scotland. It will create the robust and much-needed frameworks to build or to hold government to account. And it highlights and makes it absolutely clear that supporting vulnerable children and young people is a whole of government responsibility. And of course, expanding the previous responsibilities beyond just that of child protection and the Minister for Children. And again, as was said earlier, all portfolios will be involved. And of course, the accountability measures go beyond that of the scheme that operates in Scotland, and we are establishing a whole of government coordination of the implementation of the scheme that will see the requirements of ministers to table a plan for each of their portfolios every year. So it's constantly under review and tabling the plans every 2 years to make sure that we're learning all the time and trying to improve this process. Again, this is a very important bill, and I want to commend the Minister and her team for bringing this bill forward and the great work that they've done, the tireless work that they've done on this bill. It is a really important bill. We all, everyone here that's spoken on this bill, want to see our children to be safe and be supported and we want to reduce the times in child protection. And again, I commend all the carers, the foster carers, the kinship carers, and I commend the bill.